So one of the things that I like to do is I'm a strategist. My background's in architecture, and I love thinking about the big picture. So one of the reasons that I decided to help out with this panel when I was invited was because I don't want to just talk about VDC to you, because there are these two very bright minds that are going to tell you a lot about it. I'm going to take you a step back into project delivery and a few more other topics when we talk about that, right? So when a project kicks off, has anybody seen this cartoon? It's a little book called Asterix and Obelix. Are you familiar with it? Okay, but this is what happens when most projects kick off. Everybody makes a dash for the finish line, okay? Everybody's like struggling, and that's us, the VDC manager. What's going on? Right? That's me most of the time at work. But I don't wear a helmet like that. I wear this hat because I'm a cowboy and an Indian. So, all right. So let's start from the get-go, from the top down. Okay, the best way to look at this particular chart, okay, and I'll bring you back to where we are talking about VDC and such, but the truth of the matter is I want to take you a step back, like I said, not too many steps, but to understand what the process is and where you need to create those different points where you insert your VDC benchmarks. You with me so far? Mm-hmm. I tend to talk fast sometimes, so just blink thrice if I'm going too fast, okay? So the chart is very simple. How to deliver a project, how to procure it, and what kind of a contract would you need. All right, so we're not going to go into the two last columns. We'll talk about the first column, which is delivery, because that gives you a foray into what the relationship is between the different parties. And what does that do? It helps you understand where the models are at, correct? Right? Because any kind of relationship that you share with your team members, whether you're in design, construction, or engineering, the ultimate goal is for you to understand what your deliverables are, whether it's a PDF or a 3D model, and how are you going to collaborate all of that together in a virtual environment or a federated environment. Federated is 2017, VDC is 2018, all right, the third. So design bid build, it's a very straightforward old school tradition of doing things. 3 different parties, 2 prime contracts, everybody's familiar with it. Then we talk about multi-prime. The owner in both cases, the first and the second instance, is the project manager as well as what? The financer, right? And so any and every coordination communication sometimes has to go through owners. I'm an architect. I'm working with a contractor. Do we have some things that we don't agree upon? Yes, but we don't really seem to see eye to eye in many instances in this traditional approach. And that's just been a disease with the 2 practices. You go at CM at risk, it's a little more different because with CM at risk, what happens is everybody familiar with it? You have 2 separate contracts on the contractor side. You have pre-construction services, and then you have construction services, correct? So the models, again, could be completely different. You could be using a completely different data set. You with me? So how's that affecting your VDC, right? So that. Then you have design, build, and lean. And know that this table that I have on my slide is from the DBIA webpage. I actually took a course with them. I actually was really very, very thrilled that I took that course because it really helped me understand project delivery and procurement. I think everybody should have an understanding of it because that allows you to understand. That light's coming in my face. Everybody has to understand how the coordination process occurs so that you can utilize your data sets effectively. You with me so far, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, that's all you need to know. How are you going to coordinate everything, all right? So let's go to the next slide. Whoops, what did I do? All right, here we go. That was a little mystery moment there. All right, so design build, I just want to use an example of a design build environment because a lot of the projects, I work for Steinberg Hart out of Los Angeles. We are a very creative design studio. Our project types vary between mixed use to retail to residential to student housing to high rises. And the more I've been with the company for 3 years now, the more I see it, the more design build projects are becoming a part of the realm. Right? Everybody is familiar with it. Does everybody like it? How many GCs in the room? Right? How many architects? Engineers? Owners? No owners, okay. Yeah. All right. So the truth of the matter is, the relationship that you have in this environment, this is simply an example. I'm not trying to promote design bid or design bid build or any of that sort. But what I'm trying to tell you here is the relationship that you share with your team members in this allows you to have a much more collaborative experience, right? And that's why when we go into the whole idea of how we're going to do that, what I recommend is even within the VDC environment, are you using 3D PDFs at all? Wow, okay, that's amazing that you're not because I want to show you something really cool. at the tail end of my presentation, you're going to love it. All right. So one of the things that I recommend when you have a VDC or a BIM kickoff is to have a PDF kickoff to understand what your deliverables are, because at the end of the day, your drawings are going to be read on the job site. All right. Are you going to be using only PDFs? Are you using a level of development 300 model? What are you going with? And how are you doing all the coordination process? Right. So that's that. I'm going to go very fast through a few of my slides here, and basically this is a repetition of what I talked about. I sort of got ahead of myself in my previous slide because I was really excited to see you guys. And in all honesty, what I'm trying to tell you here is understand what kind of a contract you're dealing with, whether you're a designer or an architect or an engineer or a contractor. Understand what's going on so that you have an understanding of the process which will allow you to map out a timeline. I love mind maps. I create a lot of mind maps, and all those maps have locations and benchmarks where my VDC processes go, where my models get exchanged. Everybody familiar with pool planning? Okay, get into your pool planning. I encourage all my BIM managers to be present at pool planning meetings. Make sure that as soon as you have a benchmark in place, whether it's an SD set or a DD set, tell your PM, you guys, we need to have a VDC session in the design world before it goes into the construction world. If the construction world is sort of overlapping into that because of the contractual agreement, even better. But let's do that anyways. You with me so far? Okay, and you have to understand that my perspective comes from a designer. More, and you know, I've worked with a lot of people from the construction industry, but at the same time, we have a slightly different approach because of what we do. Okay, so programming, that's another example where I like to talk about how if you're doing any kind of work with relationships to areas and volumes and such, you want to be able to insert your VDC benchmarks in there, all right? The reason I'm saying that is because as soon as you step into schematic design, I'm working on a student housing project right now, where at the end of 100% SDs, I'm giving my team, is submitting a GMP set. At the end of SDs, how much can you possibly coordinate? The owner is not really set on a lot of the finishes, the materials and such, but all that information needs to be established, and what can you do to get that into your data set? Work in the virtual design environment, so that when you have the models that you're working with, you push them against each other, you know where the clearances are, what's going to happen, and that schedule will help you streamline your process all the way through. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You guys with me? I know it's a little bit of a step away from what they are going to talk, but I just wanted to bring that up to you anyway. So we talked about schematic design and design development, but the same thing happens. And the reason I have these maps up here is because this is one of the segues from the VDC world of how you use PDFs in your environment. I mean, we're at a BlueBeam conference, right? And PDF is the sort of the language to the grammar of VDC, if not the models, okay, depending on what you contractually agreed to work on. So that's that. Construction documents, same thing. CA operations, pretty much the same. How am I doing on time, Sasha?
You're good.
All right, thank you. Federated models, or you guys are familiar with the term, right? Federated models. Everybody utilizes it on a regular basis. Anyone does cloud-based or network-based? Let's go with cloud-based first. Come on, guys, you got to hurry up. Seriously, cloud-based is amazing. I'm not going to name the product, so to speak, but the truth of the matter is when you have a cloud-based environment, uploads, coordination process, and I'm a designer, and the realm that I come from does not really do a lot of the VDC on the cloud because we rely on, the general contracting world to take that step. Notwithstanding, we use Navisworks in our office. Oh my God, I just named the product. But the truth of the matter is Navisworks versus Vim 360, Blue, whatever may be the case, whatever you're using, use that. I'm talking too fast, right? Okay, I'm going to slow down a bit. All right. So federated PDFs, the same thing. Have different trades like BlueBeam Studio Project. Have all your uploads there. Within the studio environment, have your allocations of the different drawing sets. So that's how you organize your deliverables. Okay, 3D PDFs. Everybody familiar with the term metadata? If you're not familiar, I'll just do a quick definition in my own words. Metadata is data about data. So if you have a cube, right, in a virtual environment, that cube has dimensions. So that's data. And then the location of the cube versus the textures on it or the materials on it and any other data that defines its realm is the metadata. So it's data about data. Why am I talking to you about this? Because in 3D PDFs, you can leverage all that metadata. I showed this to my office members and now they are going to town. It's kind of like a pandemic. the reason we're doing that is because we have interior designers that love sending out little items to, the people that they work with. They want to be able to showcase what's going on, but from the 3D environment, to be able to send them a Navisworks to an owner, why would you send me an NWD or something like that? Keep it simple, create a section box, have all your models in, and then what do? You go with the element IDs. See that? So those are all available to you in a 3D PDF. You pick one component, immaterial of which this discipline it's coming from. Okay, pick a shaft or pick a beam, and it gives you all those locations, which is the metadata. Pick up that element ID, send it to your people. Do a 3D section box. It allows you to do the same thing that you would do in a VDC platform. Everybody with me so far? Make sense? It's pretty cool, right? Everybody's used to element IDs and unique IDs. You know what element IDs are, right? They're essentially the IDs of the components, two-dimensional or three-dimensional, that you would use in your BIM platform-based programs. Okay, and that's sort of the backdrop of how you do your component allocation. Okay, and that's what you want to use to be able to communicate to your people. All right, so let's get through. Aside from that, have a very clear set agenda of what you're going to do. Pick out your colors. Make sure you have a very clear timetable in place that allows you. Please use mind maps aside from your Gantt charts and what have you. Okay, mind maps are amazing. I don't have one in my presentation, but I'm sure everybody's familiar with the term. Do that, and then this is my big slide. Ask the right questions, please. Okay, whether you're in the GC world or the design world or the engineering world, specifically if you're in the design world, okay, ask those questions. And if you're in the construction world, prompt your designer to ask these questions ahead of time so that you know that the models that you get from your design team has a certain quality to it, right? That's very important, because when you have that level of development that's established right off the bat, there are some decisions that may not have been made by ownership so that you can finalize or bring your models to fruition, but at the same time, there will be enough data for you to have a very collaborative environment. And I had like 3 different slides for doing. But communicate, all right? I can't say that enough. I really think it's very important that you communicate, because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team and we're delivering a service, right? We're delivering a service, so let's make hay while the sun shines. And that's over to that handsome young buck over there, Trevor.
Thank you.